I was wrong to marry you. Those 7 words ended my marriage. My husband said them across the dinner table, slid his wedding ring onto the wood, and demanded mine back. Then he told me to pack my things and leave the house we'd shared for 6 years. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I handed him the ring, packed a suitcase, and walked away. The next morning, while settling into a hotel room, I realized I'd left something important behind. So I went back. I expected an empty house. Instead, I opened the front door and saw someone standing in my kitchen. My name is Emma, and for 6 years, I believed I had a good marriage. Not a perfect one. Not the kind people post about online. Just stable, comfortable, reliable. The kind of marriage built on routines, shared responsibilities, and quiet trust. Or at least that's what I thought. Jason and I met when I was 28. He was funny, ambitious, and incredibly confident. The kind of man who could walk into a room and make everyone feel like they'd known him for years. For a long time, we were happy. Then something changed. At first, it was small. Missed conversations. Distracted answers. Late nights at work. Nothing dramatic. Nothing obvious. When I asked if everything was okay, Jason always gave the same answer. Just stressed. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? Marriage requires trust. So I trusted him. Months passed. The distance between us slowly grew. We argued more often. Usually over small things. Laundry. Schedules. Weekend plans. None of it seemed important enough to threaten a marriage. Then one Thursday evening, Jason asked if we could have dinner together at home. Just the 2 of us. Something about his tone made me uneasy. The entire meal felt strange. He barely touched his food. Wouldn't look directly at me. And finally, halfway through dinner, he set down his fork. Emma, he said. My stomach tightened. We need to talk. Every married person knows those words. The moment they appear, your heart starts preparing for bad news. I looked at him. Okay. He took a deep breath, then said 7 words that changed everything. I was wrong to marry you. For several seconds, I couldn't speak. I honestly thought I had misheard him. What? Jason stared at the table. We want different things. The explanation felt rehearsed. Cold. Like he'd practiced it beforehand. I kept waiting for more. For a real reason. A real conversation. Instead, he reached for his wedding ring, slid it off, and placed it on the table. Then he looked at me. I want the ring back. I felt my chest tighten. 6 years. Reduced to a demand. Part of me wanted answers. Part of me wanted to argue. But I was too shocked to do either. Slowly, I removed my ring, placed it beside his, and stood up. That's it. I asked quietly. Jason nodded. I think you should stay somewhere else for a while. The words hurt more than I expected. Not because he wanted space. Because he wanted me gone. That night, I packed a suitcase, left the house, and checked into a small hotel across town. I barely slept. The next morning, while unpacking, I realized I'd left behind an important folder containing financial records and personal documents. So I drove back. I expected the house to be empty. After all, Jason should have been at work. I unlocked the front door, stepped inside, and froze. A woman was standing in my kitchen. The moment she turned around and looked at me, I realized she wasn't a stranger. And suddenly, everything started making sense. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. We just stared at each other across the kitchen. Then recognition hit me. Her name was Natalie, Jason's friend from work. The same Natalie I'd heard about dozens of times over the past year. The same Natalie Jason always described with a laugh and a shrug. She's just a friend. At least, that's what he'd always said. But seeing her standing barefoot in my kitchen less than 24 hours after he ended our marriage told a very different story. Natalie's eyes widened. Emma? I nodded. I wasn't expecting to see you here. She looked genuinely uncomfortable. Not guilty. Not defensive. Just confused. And that confused me. Because if she knew exactly what was happening, why did she look so surprised? I thought. She began. Then stopped. You thought what? I asked calmly. Natalie glanced toward the hallway, then back at me. I thought you and Jason had already been separated for months. My stomach dropped.
What?
The confusion on her face deepened. That's what he told me. For a moment, the entire room felt strangely quiet. I set my purse down on the counter. Jason told you we were separated? She nodded slowly. He said the marriage was basically over. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was unbelievable. 24 hours earlier, I had still been living in the house. 24 hours earlier, I had still been wearing my wedding ring. And apparently Jason had been telling people a completely different story. Natalie folded her arms.
Wait.
You didn't know?
No.
The single word seemed to answer a lot of questions. She looked away, clearly trying to process what she had just learned. Then the front door opened. Jason walked in carrying a coffee cup. The second he saw me, he froze. His expression changed instantly.
Shock.
Then panic. Then something else.
Fear.
Emma? I smiled politely. Good morning. His eyes moved toward Natalie, then back to me. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Finally, I broke the silence. How long have you been telling people we're separated? Jason shifted uncomfortably. It's complicated. No, I replied. It's actually a very simple question. Natalie stepped back. You told me the divorce was already happening. Jason rubbed his forehead. Neither answer seemed to satisfy either of us. For the first time since I'd met him, he looked completely unprepared. Every explanation created another contradiction. Every answer raised another question. And with each passing minute, Natalie's expression changed. The confidence disappeared. The certainty vanished. She was beginning to realize she hadn't been told the full story either. Eventually, I walked past them and retrieved the folder I had come for. The entire reason I'd returned. Then I headed toward the door. Jason finally spoke. Emma, wait. I turned around. There is one more thing you should know. For the first time all morning, Jason looked genuinely nervous. And he hadn't even heard the most important thing yet. I stood near the front door with the folder in my hands. Jason looked nervous. Natalie looked confused. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt completely calm. What's the thing I should know? Jason asked. I looked at him for a moment. Then I smiled. The divorce doesn't scare me. His expression immediately changed. That clearly wasn't the answer he expected. For months, maybe longer, Jason had assumed I would fight for the marriage, that I would beg him to stay, that I would spend weeks trying to fix whatever he had already decided was broken. But I wasn't going to do any of that. The truth was, I had noticed the distance long before that dinner. I had seen the late nights, the secrecy, the growing impatience. And while I didn't know everything, I knew enough to start preparing. Months earlier, I had quietly reviewed my finances, updated important records, organized my savings, focused on my career, not because I was planning for divorce, because I believed in being prepared for uncertainty. Now that preparation was giving me something priceless.
Peace.
Jason stared at me. That's it. I nodded. That's it. Natalie looked between us, then shook her head. I think I need to leave. Neither of us stopped her. A few seconds later, the front door closed behind her. The house suddenly felt much quieter. Jason sat down heavily at the kitchen table. For the first time, he seemed unsure of himself. Emma, things just got complicated. I almost laughed. Complicated? He had ended our marriage at the dinner table and demanded his ring back. Complicated had arrived long before I walked through the door. I don't hate you, Jason, I said. His eyes lifted. But I won't spend my future arguing about the past. He didn't know what to say. Neither did I. Because, honestly, there wasn't much left to discuss. Over the following months, the legal process moved forward respectfully. Not perfectly, but respectfully. I focused on rebuilding my life. My career expanded. I accepted opportunities one had postponed. I reconnected with friends. And slowly, the heartbreak became something smaller. Something manageable. Healing wasn't instant, but it happened. As for Jason, I eventually heard through mutual friends that life hadn't unfolded the way he expected. But that wasn't my concern anymore. The day he demanded the ring back felt like the worst day of my life. At the time, it felt like an ending. Looking back now, I realized it was something completely different. It was the beginning. The beginning of a life built on self-respect, confidence, and peace. And honestly, I wouldn't trade that for anything.